What's up, guys? Welcome to the MadMen Pod, where we dive headfirst into the wild world of marketing and advertising and just shoot the shit every week about dud and studs we see in the market. I'm Samir, your host for today. I got Salim here with me. Adil is taking a sick day today. Hope you feel better, man. Salim, we hit quarter century mark, episode 25. What's going on with you?
Man, it feels good. It feels good, man. We're gonna wait for the episode 100 so we can celebrate and throw a party or something. The biggest thing on media last week was Spotify Wrapped came out last week. Madman was number 2 on my list. You know, we're getting there. Number 2 on my list. I'm sure it was at least number 2 on yours.
Yeah, number 2 on mine for sure. I love the Spotify Wrapped. They've made privacy and data tracking really sexy, and even though no one wants to admit that, but it's exactly what it is. I'm sure all of you guys out there got to see your own personalized numbers, but I wanted to share some oh shit numbers about Spotify as a whole and give Spotify's Wrapped report for the year. They had 574 million people around the world tune into Spotify this year. The top artist, Travis Kelce's girlfriend, Taylor Swift, with 26.1 billion global streams this year. Bad Bunny came second. The top song of the year, Flowers by Miley Cyrus, 1.6 billion streams, followed by Kill Bill by SZA, and then As It Was by Harry Styles. The most streamed album for the second year in a row was Bad Bunny. That's right, his album from last year was this year's biggest album again. Top podcast of the year, The Joe Rogan Experience, followed by the MadMen Pod, somewhere down there. Wow, look at that, man. Somewhere on that top list, we're in there. Some cool trends that we saw come out in music. Gen Z continues to embrace that genre-less trend, which we talked about a little bit ago. This year marked a huge surge in Colombian music. And get this, Indian classical instrumental music. Look at that, on the rise. The fastest growing genre on Spotify is Afrobeats. What do you think?
I think it's interesting to see like the variety that's this evolved into, right? It's gotten international. You get to see a little different genres. And just talking about marketing in general, right? It has to do with it, right? Because you're seeing these different musics come out in different campaigns, and these artists around Song Trader and all the other organizations that are promoting these local artists and building the pipeline for these great songs are phenomenal. Like, look, I wouldn't be surprised if we see next year top song hits from like guys that came right off of TikTok, right? Car Prince and some other guys that I listen to that clearly came off of TikTok and made their mark. And I think you're gonna see more and more of that. I think it's cool, man. I think it's Spotify's got something going here. I feel bad for I'm waiting for Apple Music to come out with their own variation part 2. You know how Apple's always late to the game but always does it better. We'll see what comes out. We'll see what comes after it.
And we know Apple's got the data, so they're just trying to figure out how to make it into something sexy and not creepy, which Spotify has figured out. So what do you think? Let's get into it.
Let's do it.
Men go mad.
Who's gone mad?
MadMen.
You're mad.
The man's mad.
MadMen.
I'm mad.
All right, you gotta love some drama between two powerhouse CEOs. Let's talk Elon versus Iger. With a quick summary of what's been going on, we know Elon Musk acquired Twitter, rebranded it to X, and has advocated for less content moderation and more free speech on X. Bob Iger, CEO of Disney, has had concerns about the potential spread of misinformation on X, and Disney has decided to pull its advertising from X, claiming the association with X was not a positive look for us, due to Musk's stance on content moderation. Musk responded by accusing Iger of being woke and publicly criticizing him for his management of Disney as of late. And Elon fans and right-wing users are canceling their Disney Plus subscriptions. This is starting to feel like a movie at this point. What do you make of this Elon versus Iger battle?
I got it. Like, the first thing that ever comes to my mind is I don't know if you've seen the New York Times interview with Elon Musk, and he's on stage, and basically they're asking about this question about Disney pulling ad spend, and Elon very nicely and very confidently says, if they're going to blackmail me with advertising or money, go F yourself. And And he's like, I don't know if I can make that any more clear. And then he clearly calls out Bob Iger and says, "Hello, Bob." And there's like all I can think about is like, there's always that like, I'm rich, I'm really rich, and I got FU money. Like I don't even know what to call this anymore. This is not even FU money. He's like just I don't know what it is. It's just some new. It's like Elon money, I guess it's called. I think we have to call it Elon money by now. But
Yeah.
look, I think you saw the CEO of X, Linda, come out and support Elon and saying, "Hey, yeah, if they're gonna look, we are on a mission, and she's in line with that mission. Of course, she wants to keep her job, so that's part of it. But even her company, I think we talked about it last week, how all these advertisers are pulling off from X, and Elon's up to something. Right? Elon's not a dumb guy, and you all know I'm a big fan of Elon and what Elon has done. And look, he has built this one platform. I think it's going to be a platform for people to get real information from, and you're seeing that. And pre-show, me and Samir were talking about the All In podcast. I was telling him about how Tucker Carlson was on it, and Tucker Carlson is a big advocate of X, and he does his live broadcast on X after getting kicked out of Fox News. But I think there's going to be an evolution of X. We keep talking about it on the show. We talked about Grok X coming out later this year, or actually in the next couple of weeks or months or so. And it's going to build data in a different world. So is it a done move to go call out Disney and all these other guys and say, hey, F you, and I don't give a shit about your advertising? It depends, right? My take is that if he was focused on advertising money, then I would say yes, but I think he's onto something else here, right? And we knew that as soon as we knew the valuation dropped, right? So we knew he was up to something. This is a long-term investment by him, and I think you'll see it. So my take here is that yes, it's a dud move for what the advertisers are for, but for what Elon's trying to create, maybe it's probably irrelevant.
Who have pulled advertising from X: Disney, Apple, Walmart, IBM, NBC Universal, Airbnb, Coca-Cola, Microsoft, General Motors, Unilever, Procter & Gamble. The list goes on and on. This is, we talk about there's a few companies who actually run the world, and it seems like you just listed a vast majority of them, of those brands and manufacturers that run the world are pulling from Twitter. And whatever side of this argument you are on, whether you are against the content moderation or you're for freedom of speech, whatever side you are on, what I think has gotten us to this point is cancel culture. Brands are scrutinized for where they place their ads, how their brands show up in the market, and that purely out of a fear of being canceled, they are looking for brand safe environments for their advertising. Elon Musk has made it very clear that X does not care about being brand safe because they don't make content moderation a priority. So brands that are pulling advertising from X, I think, are making the right business decision. Who cares if Elon Musk's feelings are hurt about that? Elon will be the first to tell you that life isn't fair. But when he is the one who's suffering, he immediately points the finger at other people for the collapse. We have talked about kind of the role that the CEO plays in representing the brand. And, as Elon Musk is supposed to be a representative of the product that he has, which we keep hypothetically talking about the product that is coming from X, what this is going to be, the play that he's really going after. If it's not advertising, it's not partnership with brands as the revenue model for this, whatever this future state of X is going to be, then it's going to be a consumer side. And now Elon is going to have to get consumers to pay for whatever the hell he's trying to build if he's not willing to cooperate for brands and advertising. And that's the only two streams of revenue that I see a company making here. And I don't know. I feel like consumers are too smart to fall for that. I think Elon is too smart to be acting like this. So it's just so much uncertainty. Like we keep tossing this up. Like even I'm a fan of X, the super app, right? Like we talked about that. Like I think he's headed in a really interesting direction, but the way he's just burning these bridges and leaving his CEO to be the one to pick up the pieces, who came from the advertising side. She's from NBC Universal. Like she was brought in intentionally to maintain and hold on to these relationships, and he's just creating a mess for her. And I just don't know what exactly is going on there.
Let's take a step back, and I like your point of the brand, everything becoming a cancel culture, right? Like TikTok had controversy about being foreign apps, and we didn't see apps pull, we didn't see advertising get pulled. We got advertising enhanced, right? And then we did Meta. I guess, why is this one so different? This was what boggles me is like, why does X become so different compared to like everything else, right? Everything else here is doing kind of the same thing. It's one thing or another, but like this cancel culture, how much of it is brand specific, or how much should we even give a care, right? Like, hey, be your brand. It's irrelevant. Why do we have to pick sides from a brand's perspective? I can see Elon picking a side, and I can see Bob Iger picking a side. But why is Disney picking a side, and why is Marvel picking a side, and why is X like that? That to me is a done move by these brands. And what the problem is that you've gone so this route that coming backtracking this idea is it's just terrible. Like you can't do it anymore. We had the issue with Bud Light earlier this year, right, or last year, and then you see other brands. Target had the issues, right, when they went one way, and then like everyone like, oh, we're not going to advertise with you guys, or we're not going to buy from you guys, or we're not going to resell with you guys. Like, come on, guys, it's a brand. It's not a person. A person can have views. Brand can have views.
I don't know. I almost feel like the brands that are making these moves against X is sending a message to the rest of the advertising world and saying, if you don't have a product that we like, we will move dollars elsewhere. And I think this is a way for brands to strong arm the advertising world that, like you can be efficient, you can be cheap, you can have massive reach, you can have great targeting capabilities, you can even get down to measurement. But if we don't feel like our brands are safe on your platform, we will not think twice about going somewhere else. And I see it. I can see the response. Like that's where Disney went. Disney and I think Walmart actually just came out announcing that they're going to be taking off advertising from X. And the reason is because they feel like they reached their audience on other platforms, that X was not needed. And that's a really strong move for brands, right? To send a message to the advertising community. With the rise of all of these platforms comes more variety, more competition amongst these media conglomerates to be able to be competitive. Elon and X are just refusing to be competitive. They're continuing to devalue their advertising product. They can maintain what they have been able to maintain, right? Like you said last time, X is going to be fine. They've lost revenue, but they've cut costs. Like from a business standpoint, they're going to be fine. I agree with you. I think it's a really smart way of thinking about it, but they're ruining their advertising product. And if this is Elon trying to recoup his partnerships with brands, and if he's going to need that in this next iteration of X into the super app, if he needs brand support and participation, I don't think he's going to get it. And if he's not going to get it, then guess where the money's going to have to come from? It's going to come from us. We're going to have to pay to use X if it's not going to be making money with advertising. I don't want to pay for a super app. I would rather have ads than pay for a super app.
I don't know. Are you one of those guys that pays for what, Netflix ads?
No, I pay for the full version of that. But X has got to be that compelling to me. X has got to be that interesting to me.
All right, let's move on. Bath and Body Works kicked off a new creative campaign that encourages busy consumers to take a moment to stop and smell the roses. It's called Come Back to Your Senses, and it launched with the drop of a 10-foot tall candle in New York City's Herald Square. The insight behind this is about the business of Q4 combined with the economic anxiety could make a message about relaxation and reconnecting with the world appealing. It's meant to help customers slow down and unleash the power of fragrance. And what better way to do that than to drop a massive candle in the middle of a city that never sleeps? Guys, we have talked about marketing campaigns that revolve around economic issues we are facing. What do you think, Samir? Dud or stud?
Boring. My job as a strategist is to look at research and data to find an insight that could be interesting enough for a creative team to go build an idea off of. Economic uncertainty is not a good creative insight. It's redundant, it's obvious, it's boring. It gives the creative team nothing to go build something unique. Like you said, we've talked about this before with many campaigns keep coming out because of all this uncertainty. And the insight that powers this particular idea about economic anxiety, global crisis, everyone is on edge, nervous about the future. People are always anxious. It's just what changes is what people are anxious about. So this is not necessarily even timely. This isn't necessarily interesting. I don't like the insight here. I think it's too lazy. Yes, it makes sense. Yes, it's true. Dropping a massive candle in New York City, sure, I'll even say it's ownable to Bath and Body Works, but it's not creative. I would have taken it one step further to make it a little bit more interesting. Now, bear with me. It's a true statement. People are dealing with anxiety today. Sure. People are divided. Everyone's on edge. Absolutely. One way people manage their anxiety is by embracing what is comfortable and familiar. We have this unknown future that feels really scary, but the familiar past is actually comforting. There's this peace when we relive the memories of our past. And so when something triggers a memory, there is a release because it removes us from today's tension and takes us back to a better time. The strongest trigger of our memories is actually our sense of smell. So scent creates a marker in our timeline, and that is what creates a memory that is meant to be remembered. So with Bath and Body Works, find the scent this holiday season that will make new memories for you. I would have loved to give that to the creative team as the assignment to go build out that idea. I feel like that's so much more interesting. There's so much more power and emotion in that. I feel like Bath and Body Works have such a rich category, and they just do a phenomenal job with their product. I feel like it's a really great retail experience. But I just wish I could see more from this brand playing more into that emotion because of the power that they have in that scent. Not a lot of brands can use scent in any way. And I just feel like there's so much more creative opportunity here, especially for a holiday campaign. Guys, like dropping a candle in New York, yawn.
Hey, what's your billable rate? Because we should definitely be charging Bath and Body Works for that campaign idea.
Call me.
No,
I got you guys.
That's well spent, right? And here's what sucks for Bath and Body Works, right? The timing. The timing sucks because look, you're talking about anxiety, talking about economical problems, but the fact of the matter is the Fed just said that they're going to drop the interest rate next year. They said that you saw Black Friday had record numbers and Cyber Monday had record numbers, or Cyber Week, whatever you want to call it. Now everything is up, but you're in the perfect category. So I second what you're saying. Like it's had the right idea, but I think the direction that they went was wrong. Like, look. Is it going to give them brand exposure to drop a 10-foot candle in New York City? Yes. I think people are going to remember to go buy all the cheap candles. Like, my wife stacks that shit up, dude. Like, every time there's a sale for Bath & Body Works, in personal opinion, the quality is just weak when you compare it to other candles, right? But, of course, there's a price point issue here, right? And these scents and whatever the other scents they have. Like, they get creative with these scents, and they do a good job of marketing it to their right market. So they've done a good job there. That campaign will drive numbers because it's in the middle of New York City. It's a big candle. People want to take pictures. It's going to remind their logos. It's going to get it out. The way that they've kind of like half-assed done this is said, hey, look, we're going to drop a candle and everything else will play itself out. Their message is going to miss. But I think, still stud move for dropping the candle, getting the square footage in New York City. And it'll definitely get the brand exposure they need to go drive revenue for end of quarter 4. So still stud move. I think still stud move, just not the way you wanted it to be.
Stud, but boring. Come on.
It's my first brand to watch. Look, .com billionaire, obnoxious owner of the Dallas Mavericks, and soon-to-be ex-Sharker, has been in the news lately for selling a majority stake in the Dallas Mavericks for nearly $2 billion, which he only bought for only $285 million in 2000. He also announced he was going to retire from Shark Tank. So what is he going to do with all this free time and all this money? Well, if you remember back in 2021, he also bought a city called Mustang City in Texas. And in a very discreet text between him and some influential people, he's been pitching ideas of building a city that would make it an affordable living mecca. Now, that is something cool. What he's trying to do here, at least in my opinion, he's trying to build this city for the good of the world, building a city that has affordable healthcare, affordable utilities, affordable housing, all at a good living income, and jobs in that city. I think he's going to set an example for his presidential campaign in then maybe 10 years, but I don't know if that'll happen. But I think he's going to do something really good instead of building these tech forward cities or whatever people are doing. I think he's onto something here, and I think it's very important for us to watch. Not Mark Cuban as a brand to watch, but Mustang City is my brand to watch here.
Yeah, that's super cool. I feel like the entire city of Dallas was like shaking about all of this news that Mark Cuban. It all came out at once. He came on a podcast and started saying, "Oh, I don't know where I'm going to renew my contract with Mavs because Valley's not doing enough." And then he cashes out of Shark Tank, he cashes out of Mavs, and everyone's kind of waiting to see is he announcing a presidential move. Even the family he sold the Mavs to is like an heir to the Las Vegas casinos. And there's been discussions from a legislation standpoint to try to make Texas a gambling state. And Cuban having interest in building an entire entertainment district with a new stadium. All of these theories like being thrown out there, but this one, I think the one that you're highlighting is the most interesting. I think you're right. I feel like if there's something for him to be able to set a foundation for a future presidential run, he's going above the government and just going to go do this thing himself. He's like, I'm not going to make all of US an affordable living place. I'll just pick one small little city and then go from there.
If you've ever listened to one of his podcasts or one of his interviews, this guy's pretty straightforward. Mark Cuban is very genuine, down to earth type of guy. He's not. He's happy with his riches, and he's not trying to be competitive and make. I mean, he's going to make more money just by compound interest, but I think he's going to do something pretty cool for the world here.
I'm actually going to be featuring an ad campaign from a campaign from earlier this year, but it just won the Inclusivity and Diversity Trophy at the Drum Awards for Social Purpose last week. And I just have to talk about it because it's an incredible program. And selfishly, it was developed by my peers at VML, so I wanted to give them a shout out for this awesome work. I'm going to talk about KitKat in Canada. KitKat, the candy, has long been synonymous with the word break. You see it in culture: water cooler break at the office, mental break. It's a brand that has become famous for glorifying however you like to break. But one break that hasn't been celebrated enough by brands is the break that happens every evening during the holy month of Ramadan, breaking your fast. There are almost 2 million Muslims residing in Canada, a country whose national holidays and celebrations remain entirely of the Christian faith. So to honor the important holiday of Ramadan in Canada, KitKat created the KitKat Iftar Bar. It is 30 pieces long, designed with geometric patterns often found in Islamic art, and it is meant to be enjoyed piece by piece each evening for the 30 days of Ramadan. It was inspired by the insight that chocolate is a marker for celebrations around holidays. We see it in Christmas, Easter, Halloween, but KitKat saw an opportunity to bring awareness to the holiday where a break has extreme significance. Amazing campaign. I'm glad they really got the recognition from the industry and this award from the Drum. It was earlier this year for this past Ramadan, but I think it's a really good program that everybody should hear about, and that is getting the recognition it deserves. I think it was super smart. I'm looking at it from the brand manager perspective. It's probably too niche of an audience to be able to go after this, but I think for all of us who may not be in Canada, or even anywhere around the world where we may not even be able to get a KitKat Iftar Bar, I think this just kind of strike a really deep meaning around Ramadan and having KitKat really standing for something that is meaningful to one of the largest religions in the world. So kudos to KitKat Canada.
That is so cool. I am actively Googling. I'm headed to Toronto Thursday. Like, maybe I could go find this bar. It'd be kind of cool. I think it's a little late for iftar in the Ramadan, but just to have it would be kind of cool and just say, hey, look. But clearly I can't find it anywhere, so we're going to have to go on eBay or something. It wouldn't be like me to be always good and not show something negative. So I got to throw in a little negative Nancy brand to watch on its fall. But another luxury retailer, e-tailer, is about to bite the dust. Farfetch, a high-end luxury B2B retailer that connects high-fashion brands like Prada, Off-White, Gucci to luxury boutique retailers throughout Europe, is in deep trouble as it canceled its earnings call this quarter. Let's take a quick look at the numbers from past couple of years and show you what we got, right? So 2020, they lost $3.3 billion. In 21, they saw a profit, I wonder why, of $1.47 billion. But then in 2022, they lost another $350 million. As reported by Business of Fashion, they had $400 million in cash this June and about $2.8 billion in obligations. So they are badly in debt. They're actively looking at delisting and taking the company private or selling it off. But this is just another indicator that all these high fashion brands are starting to fall off the desire list as these aspirational buyers start to aspire to buy things that they kind of needed more, like kind of the things that you saw on Black Friday. They've kind of brought themselves down. So it's really interesting to see companies like Farfetch, which has had they had a great model. They had a great idea. They had some really big funders in the back end to get it off the ground. They were Portuguese. I think they were Portuguese founded. But we saw it and earlier with LVMH saying the same thing. We saw it with luxury brands saying it earlier as well. Nordstrom's did the same thing. But we're seeing a big disruption and a big fall in these luxury high-end retailers. So that's my brand to watch as it falls.
Yeah, that's a good one. It almost seems like one of the first dominoes around the luxury space, and to see like what kind of the ripple effect that this is going to cause down the luxury brand chain. So really interesting thing that's happening.
Simultaneously, you see stuff like Cactus Jack and this AP collab. But that is such a weird market. Like it is such a like Travis Scott and AP. Like that is not a brand that I would put together in any manner. And then we saw the CEO of AP just kind of like say, "Hey, I'm retiring after this announcement. Peace out." I saw the first one hit the market on black market for $500,000. I think the retail price was like 80,000, and the watch is reselling for $500,000. I'm like, what is going on?
All right, that wraps up the show. I appreciate you guys for listening in. Be sure to follow us on all the places, all the socials. Maybe not on X, but maybe everywhere else.
It's sad that we're not on X.
Sad or strategic? I don't know. Brand safe environment, right?
We'll call it strategic. Once Bob Iger goes back, we'll go back.
Yeah, there you go. All
Sorry,
right,
guys.
see you guys next time. See ya.
Men go mad.
He's gone mad.
MadMen.
You're mad, man.
The man's mad.
MadMen.
I'm mad, man.